We got some good news this week. The Consumer Price Index, the CPI in Canada, is trending downwards. Now, it still came out at 7%, but what a lot of economists are thinking is that we've already hit peak inflation. Now, the main point of this video, after we go through some of that CPI data, is to see if the Bank of Canada will change their mind and let rates stabilize, if not drop them in the future. But if this is your first time here, my name's Nick. Welcome to Ways to Wealth. Before we get into the video, I have a huge favor, a huge ask. If you learn something new or you get some value out of the video, hit that like button for me. I definitely appreciate that. And if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on. We do content like this every single Sunday, so make sure to come check out the channel. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we got a great report for August CPI numbers here in Canada. We saw that it still grew at 7%, but it was less than what was expected. Analysts and economists expected that it was going to be 7.3%. Came in at 7, and it's a downtrend from what July's numbers were at 7.6. So this is actually really good. We'll break down sector by sector in a little bit, but the most important numbers to highlight is transportation costs came down. That's because oil and gas prices have fallen off. You can probably feel that yourself at the pumps. But what is most important is that we still have price increases in some areas. And we can see here prices for groceries rise at the fastest pace since 1981. So in 1981, it was 11.9%, and we'll go through a little bit about where we sit today. So we'll jump over to that article, and it's a nice graphic here which shows you July 22 in comparison to August 22, and it breaks down all the independent sectors. So if you want, pause the video or listen along and take a look at each individual one. So what the title says is price growth is slowing. That is a good sign. That means that prices are not increasing as fast as they were before. And we'll touch on this topic a little bit later, but at the end of the day, prices are still growing at 7%. And that is an astronomical figure, numbers that we haven't seen since the 80s. So we see here, food has gone up. Food is something that impacts everybody. We need it to live. Shelter has come down surprisingly from 7% to 6.6. We have households going up, clothing staying the same, transportation, huge decrease. You could probably factor in a lot of the decrease in the expectation from that 7.3 expected to where we ended up at 7 being because of transportation. We have health and personal care going up. We have recreation coming down and tobacco, etc., coming down as well. So a lot of the categories there are heading on the downtrend, but the fact of the matter is what we mentioned before, inflation is still high. So when we take that into account, we start to think, hey, maybe the policies that the Bank of Canada has already put into play are working. You know what? It's hard to say that they've moved into the market so fast, but I do think that they are looking to get inflation back down to the 2%. That has been their goal for the longest time. And I don't think they stop or, slow up, take their foot off the gas until that happens. I got a comment from a previous viewer on the last video to say, if the Bank of Canada raises 50 basis points, that'll be an indicator of them slowing down. Let me know what you think about that. Do you think that 50 basis points is just like a little baby hike? Or do you still think that, we continue to go with these 75 basis point or even the full basis point hike? We can also see here from this Financial Post article that we've seen fakes in numbers before in recent data in the US, for prime example. However, it could be true that easing supply chain pressures, falling commodity prices, and a highly interest rate sensitive economy are all conspiring to see price growth cool. It almost seems like we have the transportation costs for the freight component coming down. We have all of these different pressures coming off the economy, but the Bank of Canada is still raising the rates. There's a lot of arguments right now that are also stating that they are putting us into a further deeper recession. And that is definitely something that has to be watched out for. But I definitely think, my personal opinion is that they continue to raise rates as inflation will continue to stay high. Inflation's at 7% year over year right now. We're not going down to 2% anytime soon. So let me know what you think down below. Do you think that we start to slow up? Do you think that we stabilize, or do you think that we continue to go higher? And if you're still here with me, of course, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. I appreciate all your support. Have a great week in the markets. Happy trading.